hopefully by then with what the new designated flood zone is. We're extremely proud of the outstanding work our Public Works Department does in these challenging economic, state, and federal times where funding for infrastructure projects is lessening. Over the past few years, the state's municipal arterial program and cooperative funding for street projects has been greatly reduced, placing an additional burden on our already extremely tight infrastructure budget. Additionally, we have recently learned that the federal government is now seeking to remove the CDBGs, the Community Development Block Grant funding, which funds city streets in our poorer areas of town. In the last few years, the City of Clovis has received over $1 million for the planning and building streets in this part of our community. And we have written to our president and our federal delegation asking them to protect this program because it is so vital to our community. The city was challenged in 2010 due to the unavailability of capital outlay funding at the state level, which we have relied upon for street projects and other infrastructure and development activities. It appears that there will be little capital outlay funding in 2011, and the city continues to seek available funding sources to fund our many infrastructure needs. And I think you have a copy you can look up there on the PowerPoint and what our infrastructure needs are, and it totals about $61 million just for street projects that are critically needed throughout this community. We could probably take $1 million off because I think that did include 21st Street. So anyway, but still, it's needs are many and the dollars are few. So it has been suggested that on a local level, that is 16% gross receipts tax, which is already dedicated to your public works infrastructure, be reappropriated to help pay for the city's portion of the upcoming Ute Pipeline project. And as you can see by this slide and just what we've talked about, the city has many street and infrastructure needs. And with a state and federal reduction in the funding the city receives for infrastructure projects, now is not the time to further reduce the funding for Clovis's infrastructure at a local level. As a community, as our community expands, and it is expanding, you can't drive down Prince Street and it takes a little time to get down Prince Street now. And you see different license plates all over Clovis. So it is expanding, and and I believe we have, much more expansion to go. So as our community expands, we need to protect the funding we have to help pay for our many infrastructure needs. Ute Pipeline Project. Water remains our most precious resource, and the City of Clovis continues to work closely with New Mexico American Water Company on ways to conserve this precious commodity. In 2010, the Eastern New Mexico Rural Water Authority received State Water Trust Board funding and continue to actively seek appropriation at the federal level for construction of the project. In 2010, the New Mexico State Legislature approved legislation to create the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority. Now, this was key because this is actually going to be the entity that runs and operates and oversees the construction of the project. This authority will oversee the construction and operations and maintenance of the Ute Pipeline project. The city continues to work with area farmers and the state engineer's office on ways to conserve and effectively manage the Ogallala Aquifer. The construction of the Ute project will take place in phases as funding becomes available. The first phase will begin in April of 2011. This is when we will start with the construction of the first phase of the intake structure, which is the actual straw that goes into the lake and starts the process. Funding for this phase will be completed with mainly federal and state funds, and we already have the money available to do this. And so at our next meeting, I believe our Water Authority meeting is March the 24th, and we will announce that day the date of the groundbreaking. The next possible phase would be the pipeline that started in North Curry County and goes south to Portales. This was something that was kind of thought of after the fact because it was a way to maybe start receiving funding earlier, but it was also a way to work with our ag community as they could lease the water rights back to the authority, and it would take agricultural rights, which is 3 acre-feet a year, down to the municipal, which is 1.29, and that makes it much less, helps to relieve the stress of our aquifer. So if we can get this, and hopefully that's going to be our funding for the next phase, then we can work, and we've already talked to our federal delegation about that. I will be in Washington next week to continue this talk, and they like that because it starts, once the money starts flowing from the federal government, and it will. Once that starts, then this will be a project, this phase could go ahead and be in use instead of waiting, to connect the pipeline as the money comes in. As part of the commitment to the Youth Pipeline Project in February, the Clovis City Commission approved a 0.25% gross receipts tax to fund approximately $13 million of its $36 million. Clovis's part is $36 million on the Ute Water Project for the Ute Pipeline Project by 2018. This 0.25% will sunset in 10 years, so it is a specific tax for a specific reason, and it's only for the Ute Water Project. It's not for anything else. The importance of this project cannot be understated. As we move our community forward, it is essential that we provide for the future water needs of our children and our grandchildren. And I've made this statement before, and no offense to you guys, but it's really not all about you sitting in this room. It's about our kids and our grandkids, because those are going to be the beneficiary when the Ute pipeline actually starts flowing. I attended, some of us went over to Amarillo to a Playa Festival on Monday, and they had a presentation on the Ogallala. And it is critical. We are not the only community that's looking at this. Amarillo, they are really concerned about it. Lubbock, all over the West Texas and eastern New Mexico, it's something that we absolutely need to address, and this is the best way that we can do it and move forward to ensure water for the future of many, many years to come. City of Clovis's public service departments continue to provide excellent service to our community. 2010 saw a change with reported crime at the Clovis Police Department. There was a 10% decrease in persons crime and a 3% decrease in property crimes in Clovis. The department made 3,100 arrests, an increase of 7% from 2009. The department attributes this success to the partnerships with the community, with citizens making calls and willing to get involved. Because arrests are up, overall crime has dropped. In 2010, as in 2008 and 2009, there were 2 homicides per year. Now that is too many, but that's much better than what we have had in the past. So I believe that the police department is really working hard to make sure that that they are there to take care of that. The police department continues with their accreditation process in addressing the department's policies and practices. These process forces the department to review each and every policy and procedures with the intent of ensuring that they are practicing law enforcement to standards set by the national and state law enforcement. It is anticipated the department will be accredited by the state of New Mexico in August. In 2010, the department upgraded the computer-aided dispatch and records management software, which has allowed the department to provide a better response to calls for services and to archive the police reports related to criminal activity. In 2010, the City of Clovis's Animal Control Department continued to work tirelessly in addressing the abandoned and stray animal population in the City of Clovis. The transition to euthanasia by lethal injection program has been a very smooth one, and I would like to compliment the staff at the shelter for their hard work and dedication during the transition. Through the Animal Control Task Force created by the Clovis City Commission, the High Plains Humane Society was created in 2010, and they have been assisting with a funding program for low-cost spay and neutering. Most of the veterinarians in this community participate, in fact, I think most all of them do now, in this much-needed program. The Clovis Fire Department is comprised of 78 full-time employees providing professional and courteous service from 6 fire stations strategically located through the City of Clovis. The Clovis Fire Department provides fire protection, EMS, paramedic level services, hazardous material mitigation, and technical rescue in Clovis, Curry County, and nearby counties through mutual aid agreements. The fire department strives for excellence in the delivery of all of its services and currently provides a Class 3 ISO fire protection rating for the City of Clovis. The fire department realizes that this community is the reason for its presence, and everyone is entitled to the best possible service that they can get. In 2010, the Clovis Fire Department continued its commitment to provide the best and most effective services to the community. Our personnel are provided excellent equipment to perform their job, as well as outstanding training and promotional opportunities. Numerous personnel attended several conferences, workshops, received specialized training throughout the entire year, which allows personnel to become and remain current on operations and services provided. And just yesterday, I had a person walk up to me and tell me how polite and how courteous and how wonderful our EMS people were. They were just totally amazed. Compared to 2009, the Clovis Fire Department experienced a 25% increase in out-of-town transfers. And I think a lot of this is, in fact, there was an article in today's paper, but a lot of this is attributable to Clovis's expansion. Emergency management. In 2010, the emergency management team facilitated a tornado tabletop exercise with 35 area agencies to practice how they would work together to respond to assist the public during a tornado crisis scenario. They also conducted plans for PACs, that's presentations for 430